Hi everyone. This month I'm super excited to introduce you to Konrad. So Konrad's the CEO of the Creative Copywriter. So welcome to the Pep Talk, Konrad. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Georgie. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Good. So today we're going to be diving into a little bit more about how DTC businesses can use creative copywriting to kind of reel in more revenue and use it to their advantage. So I guess before we start, it'd be super helpful if you could just give us a little bit of background into the creative copywriter and your role there.
Yeah, sure. I'll try not to tell you my life story this time, but like last time we met. So yes, I am the co-founder of an agency called the Creative Copywriter. In a nutshell, we blend the science of data-driven content strategy and psychology with the art of creative copywriting, basically to help brands get their words right at every step of the customer journey. I run it with my partner in life and crime, Nitsan, who is my wife and my managing director. And yeah, we work with, we're kind of sector agnostic. We do work a lot with DTC brands and retail brands. Some on the bigger end of the spectrum, Adidas, Geox, for example, and then all the way down to kind of startups and scale-ups.
Yeah, nice. It's it's super refreshing to kind of talk to another agency that's purely focuses on that kind of the content copywriting side of things. It's such a big part of making sure that content on comms is as effective as possible. And in your experience, how do brands find sort of that perfect balance between science, which you mentioned, and creativity when it comes to writing really compelling copy? Is there a sort of a formula that you've cracked?
Well, yeah, I'd say we do have a formula. So good question. And, I would say first of all that most brands don't get it right, in my opinion. I think that unfortunately copy is often an afterthought for brands and marketers. It's kind of like the last thing on their list of how to use their budget. Even though, again, in my sort of maybe biased, unhumble opinion, copy is what makes or breaks the sale, right? If without words, you're not going to sell anything. And then there's a spectrum of how well those words are going to convince and convert the audience. So it's super, super crucial. I would say that, obviously. And when it comes to like that blend, I like to sort of equate it to ingredients. I think that there are so many ingredients in the art and science of copy, or creating killer copy that does everything you need it to do. Stop people in their tracks, grab their attention, engage them, hook them, nurture them, convince, compel, convert, retain, upsell, etc. All those things you need to do. There are many ingredients that you need to sort of weave into your copy to get it right. And much like ingredients in a delicious sauce, let's say, that you're cooking up, balance, as you mentioned, is the operative word. Like, balance is crucial. And if you're cooking a sauce, you want it to be salty but not too salty, sweet but not too sweet, acidic but not too much acidity, etc., so on and so forth. And again, when it comes to copy, it is really about balancing many different ingredients, ticking all of those boxes, but not going too hard on in any one sort of direction, not making that copy too salty, for example. So we developed a sort of a formula, if you will, a framework called the 13 lenses, and they are very much like 13 different kind of core ingredients in copy and content. So we kind of apply it across the board, whether you're creating let's say like a top funnel educational article, SEO driven article, all the way through to after funnel, as we call it, sort of upsell email drips. And the lenses apply across the board, but there's slightly different kind of questions and that we ask and within each lens. I'm sure we don't have time to talk about all 13 lenses today, but I can give you an example of a few.
Pick your favorites.
We've got goldfish lens, which is based on the premise that your target audience have the attention spans of goldfish, right? And increasingly so. And very quick tricks from that lens, make your copy, skimmable and scannable, because lots of people skim and scan, don't assume they're going to read every word. So subheaders, bullet points, things like that are useful. Big chunky paragraphs are hard for the eye to follow, and people just switch off if they see it. They just can't be bothered to make the effort to read it. So break your paragraphs in half. Long sentences don't work as well as short ones, so choppy copy works. That's just a few examples from the goldfish lens. We have the action lens, which is all about conversion and using kind of sales psychology, things like sense of urgency, sense of scarcity, the right calls to action, social proof. But again, not pushing that too hard, because otherwise you'll sound like a car salesman from the 90s, and that doesn't work as well as it once did, perhaps. Outside in lens is all about using data, so kind of weaving in voice of customer, language, etc., into your copy and content. And there are 10 other lenses, which I guess the question is how much do you want me to dive into them?
No, I think that's it's super helpful, and actually really interesting that you've got that kind of framework, because often I think copywriting is thought of as is creative, of course, but purely creative. But it's really interesting you've built a bit of a kind of formula and some the science into it, and so there is that sort of framework behind everything you're doing. So it's interesting. I love the goldfish lens. I think that's my favorite, and it's so true. People have got such short attention spans, particularly when, as you say, reading chunky paragraphs. People skim them. They're busy, they're watching TV whilst they're reading something, and it's the goldfish analogy is one I can certainly relate to.
And can I just jump on that, because your initial question was like that, the creativity and the science, and maybe the answer I gave was sort of going down the road of a scientific framework, but we have a creative spark lens, right? We have a lens which is kind of lends itself to creativity and kind of push our copywriters to do that. And Real Talk lens is all about being conversational, and the Zigzag lens is about differentiating. So there's kind of creativity there built into the framework. Because I think the thing is, like, if you're just going with the gut feel of one copywriter, or let's say a marketing manager is often the case, who's not even a copywriter, they're going to miss a trick, right? It's very difficult to remember all of these ingredients, when you're writing that copy. And so the reason why we built the framework was really as a QA system, as an agency, so we could deliver, high quality copy that converts, that does everything you need to do. And without that sort of checklist system, that framework, I feel that it's just very easy for even the most seasoned of copywriters to miss a trick, and maybe make it really creative, but too creative, right, at the loss of clarity. So clarity should always trump creativity, which is one thing I say. And again, back to your question, it's about that balance and getting that balance right.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. It's with everything within marketing, it's always about that balance. And I like the analogy of the cooking, with not too many, with the sort of the right ingredients and getting the right balance there. Okay, cool. And in terms of there's obviously a whole wealth of kind of those copywriting lenses that you mentioned and things to consider. But if you had to give a marketing manager or a copywriter 3 kind of key things to focus on in order to really power up their conversion rates, what would they be? Are there sort of 3 particular elements that you find are the most important of all the different lenses that you focus on?
Well, I always find these questions difficult, and I always get asked I always find them tough, because I'm like, I've got 13 lenses and they're all important, and I don't want to drop any of the lenses, but yes, I can.